Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I'm your host, Al Richards, and we have the lovely Charity Fuller with us today. Charity, again, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hi, Al. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We miss JD. JD's
Yes.
been busy moving, and he's had some illness in the house, and he's had some pretty stressful stuff going on. I did chat with him yesterday, and he's like, man, life's been crazy, but he's looking forward to being back in the studio later this week, so we'll be grateful to have him back. But you're still going to be around, right? Because you're here to do pictures and things, so we always get to see your lovely face here in the studio.
I'm part of the crew. I
Yes.
feel so special. I
Yes,
feel like I
you are.
belong.
You do belong. You do belong. You have fit right in. It's like you're all part of the family now, so it's great.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hey, kind of starting a new little thing here before the show. Just want to read a little bit something that Charity was helping me with my 60-second pitch, and I had half of it, and I was stuck on the other half. And then she's such an incredible writer. She come up with some stuff, and I used this at a networking group last week,
Awesome.
and people were like, "Oh my hell, that was awesome!" I mean, serious. People are like, I think I need to work on my 60-second speech a little bit. So,
And for hire.
yeah, she is for
Throw
hire.
that out there.
Yeah, just take her to High Point Coffee and get her a chai or something, and she'll just all of a sudden her brain starts going into double time, and these gears click in, and words just flow out.
Once I'm in that zone, once I get the wheels going, it just comes.
Yeah, and it's great. So I'm going to read this thing, and that we used it the other day, but at the end of the show. But I'm like, no, this needs to be the first half of the show. So the Other Side of Addiction podcast. It's all about raw vulnerability, that we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction, shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing path of recovery. And basically that sums up almost the whole show, because just the show we did earlier talked about confusion and recovery and the stigma. So thank you for writing that. That was awesome.
My pleasure. Thanks for allowing me to.
Absolutely. Gosh, we got a special guest in the studio today, Curtis Swenson. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thanks.
Good. Well, thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to be with us today. And yeah, you and I have known each other for what, 3 years, 4 years, something like that?
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5, yeah. And Curtis was doing some different things at that time, but then he went to his life passion. But one day I was talking to Curtis at a networking event in Bountiful, and he goes, hey, I don't know if you knew, but I used to have an addiction too. And I'm like, no, I didn't know. Which I'm finding this out a lot, but so yeah, Curtis said, hey, I'd love to be on the show. So we're very, very grateful to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to read a little quick bio here about Curtis, and I'm going to do my best to... I'm a better reader than what I seem to when I read somebody's bio. Really, guys, I'm a pretty good reader. But anyway, so Curtis Swenson, known as the Thought Coach, graduated from BYU in psychology. He later became... Now, is that Louise Hay? Louise Hays, certified teacher in coaching, which you're going to have to touch on that because I'm not for sure
Very
what
cool.
that is. Yeah. After teaching the Love Yourself workshop several times and having 1 or 2 coaching clients at a time, he had a breakthrough. Through some inner work, facilitated by an excellent life purpose workshop, he discovered that coaching wasn't just his hobby, it was what he was born to do. After 10 years of coaching, facilitating and enrolling in 3 different companies, he started his own business. Shortly after that, he saw that his specific calling is to teach people to love themselves and realize the joy they can feel when self-confidence becomes an everyday part of their lives. And I love that how you say, how you teach people to love themselves. Because I can honestly say there's been times in my life I haven't cared for myself. That's why I've been spending the last 12 years on working on becoming a better me. I think Charity has shared the same things. Most of our guests that come on our show share the same thing. A lot of the people that have shared and come on about their addiction, they didn't have that self-love. My wife was one. She basically thought her life was worthless and she wasn't worth anything. And now here, November 9th, 11 months sober on the 11th month. Isn't that cool?
So exciting.
Yeah. She's finding her purpose in that. So Curtis, what got you into the coaching? I mean, I've had a session with you and I've been to some of your classes. I've shared on our podcast a number of times. You gave us a sheet of affirmations once, and our homework was to go home, memorize these, but look at ourselves in the mirror, eye to eye, and say these things to ourselves to help us. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I've shared it on the air that I thought it was a piece of cake. It's like, yeah, this ain't a problem. Easy. It took me quite a few days to realize that every time I said one, I caught myself looking back at myself. So which means I wasn't looking at myself while I was saying them. It took me some time to stare myself in the eyes and say, hey, I am wonderful, or I am loved, or whatever it may be. But I just had to share that first, but what got you into wanting to do this passion that you have now?
Well, originally it was a book that I kind of got from my mother. I actually found it in her possessions after she passed away. And it's called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hays.
Okay.
And when I read that book, I learned 4 things. I learned that self-love was a thing. I'd never heard of it. This was back in 97 before people were talking about self-love. I learned that I didn't have very much of it. I learned all the benefits of learning to love yourself, and I learned how to take that journey. And that was my door into the personal development world. After I learned to love myself, I went through the training to I just wanted more. I wasn't planning on becoming a teacher or a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted more Louise Hays. So I went through the training to become a Louise Hays certified teacher and coach, and came away knowing how to teach other people to love themselves.
Wow. And it just all started by finding a book.
Yep.
And why don't I know about this Louise Hays? I mean...
Listen, we'll get you hooked up after the show, Al.
Yeah, because, I mean, I didn't even hear of Brene Brown. And then one day my wife was talking to me about some stuff, because they use Brene Brown a lot in therapy. And I'm like, who the heck is this person? And then I started hearing some of her stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so now I'm going to have to check this out. So, with you wanting to help people love themselves, was there a time in your life where you was not loving yourself? And is that what kind of drew you in? Because it was kind of a therapy for you as well?
Yeah, what was interesting is as I started to read the book and start to understand Louise Hay philosophy, I realized it was kind of the opposite in many ways of the philosophy I'd been using to guide my life up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I thought the road to self-improvement was identify your weaknesses and focus on them until you turn them into strengths. And Louise Hay said, focus on your strengths. And I thought, well, that's kind of the opposite. And I was afraid to take my eye off my weaknesses for fear they'd grow and come back and bite me. And I'm a risk taker, so I gave it a shot. And I started focusing on my strengths, serving in my strengths, living in my strengths. And I don't know if my weaknesses went away, but they just became irrelevant.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, this really works.
So you put all your focus on the strengths, and that changed everything around.
Yeah, this is long before I came to understand the concept that what you focus on grows.
Yeah.
And now that's my number one concept. I teach that all 12 weeks. When I'm working with someone, they'll hear me say 2 or 3 times per session, what you focus on grows. And that concept, I believe, is the one that all other personal development concepts sit on. That's the foundation. What you focus on grows. And if you choose your focus and you feed your mind a constant diet of positive thoughts, they'll be returned to you multiplied. And it goes in the opposite direction too. If you focus on negative things, they grow, and then there's more negative to focus on, and then that grows, and pretty soon all you're seeing is negative.
Yeah, and that is true. Whether it's positive or negative, whichever you're putting out there to the universe, it's going to happen to you. And you help people also. You teach them proper verbiage, I guess, because I've taken classes and I've read books and different things, and I've heard people say, it's like people that want to lose weight. They say, I don't want to be fat anymore. Well, they're still concentrating on being fat. Right?
Right.
But if you learn how to change your verbiage just a little bit, it changes the whole vibration of everything that's going out.
Yes. We want to focus on, especially in our affirmations, we want to focus on what we want, not what we don't want, because the subconscious sees in pictures. So if you have an affirmation that includes the word fat, that's what your subconscious will see. And the words that we use to think and the words that we use to speak are so important. I do spend a lot of time teaching people how to catching them saying the word try. I say, well, have you ever noticed when you say try that it implies to your subconscious that you're going to fail? And they go, well, no, I never really thought about that. And so I ask permission of my clients to catch them in their words, and then suggest more powerful words so they can start to speak more powerfully, because we really do speak things into existence. Mm-hmm. And so it's important that we focus on what we do want. I know a big, long process you can go through to replace a limiting belief with an empowering belief, and it's actually really simple. Instead of running from what you don't want, you just focus on going toward what you do want. You don't even really need to know what your limiting belief is at a certain level. It helps if you go through a deep process, you identify the limiting belief, and then you consciously switch it. But if you know what you want and you're just focused on that, and that's what you're talking about, and that's what you're thinking about, and that's what you're writing about, that's what you're doing in your affirmations, that's what you're doing in your visualization, you're going to go there.
Yeah. And that is so true with everything he said. And it seems, I think a lot of people look at it as it's hard to do. And I think the only reason why they look at that is because of the habits that they're stuck in doing. Because I found out for me, when I started changing just different things, and I started out small. I just started waking up in the morning and grabbed a journal and thought, okay, I'm going to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for every morning. Then in the evening time, I'm going to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. JD, who's been on the show many times, he brought up, write down your wins. You have wins every single day. As you start doing that, to me, it started helping my subconscious mind to where now also I was starting to pay attention to more what my thoughts were, and started realizing how many negative things I was thinking about during the day. And our subconscious mind will trick us. It'll
Very
shuffle
tricky.
That bad shit up real quick,
Yeah.
just because it's like, oh, I don't like that you're thinking positive. Remember
clever.
this? It is clever. It's really clever, yeah. And I also like how you touched base on the word try. You know Matt Gibbons.
Uh-huh.
So Matt and I, gosh, we were sitting down in a friend's backyard. This was probably 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. And we're talking about some stuff. And we were talking about the book Word, I Am Word. And it talks about just like what you were saying, how our vocabulary can either hurt us or it can be our strengths. And he stopped me and he goes, Al, can I just be upfront with you? And I'm like, yeah, what's up, Matt? And Matt, of course, he's very upfront type of person anyway. He's like, do you know how many times you just said try? No, never even really thought about it. And he goes, here in just a short period of time, he says, I think I counted 20-something times that you said try. And he goes, you need to get rid of that word. I had no clue that word try was hurting me. Sorry, he even mentioned to me sorry. Mm-hmm. He says, if you look up a definition of sorry, it's all negative. And watching some movies and different things like that, and also being in The Chosen as a Roman soldier and stuff, and hearing some of the lines, they used to use apologies or apologize. Not ever, I'm sorry. And I went, ding, the light bulb went off. And so now I work on that. You hear people say, and I'm working on my wife, and she's getting better, but she was like, oh, I just hate my phone. Oh, I hate these shoes. Oh, I hate this movie. And it's like every time you say that hate word, you're bringing that into your life, right?
Yep. I want to go back to what you touched on earlier, that when I begin to teach someone how to love themselves, I teach them some very basic things. A lot of what you're talking about right now, I teach them to stop all criticism. Mm-hmm. Exactly what you're talking about with your wife. If you're criticizing others, you're criticizing yourself. If you're criticizing things, you're criticizing yourself. And as I teach them the tool that you use to overcome criticism and to stop judging yourself and stop judging others, it's so simple. And I say, it sounds easy, right? And they're like, yeah. And it's simple. Do you think it'll work? And they're like, well, I hope so. And I say, I promise you it'll work. The hard part, where it comes hard, is being consistent with that over a period of weeks.
Yeah.
To change the habit.
Yeah. That is the hard part.
It is. The concept itself is so simple. The application is where it gets real.
Yeah. Well, and we even hear that on the recovery type of site. I mean, when people talk about their recovery, it's no walk in the park, and we have been programmed a certain way for so long, and you're trying to change those. I mean, Nicholas Smith brought it up when he was a guest on here, we can unplug some neurons. I think that's what they call them, the neurons. He's like, unplug them and plug them somewhere else. You don't have to stay plugged in that same outlet that's shortened every single time you turn it on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, we've had other coaches on, and we've had people that do holistic stuff and hypnotizing. And it seems like they're all kind of in that same thing as the coaching with you on getting people to learn how to love themselves. Because I know when my wife was battling through her addiction, and I know a lot about Charity's story from getting to know her a lot more, and maybe she can even touch on this too, but so many people that battled the addictions did not love themselves. They had some scars deep inside, and I love how Charity puts it. She's like, my little girl is finally starting to come out. She's starting to see something where she's held something inside for so long, and now she's seeing the joy of letting this little girl just come out and be this little girl. But do you find that too with clients as well, that they don't have that self-love? I mean, they think they do, but as you start working with them, I'm sure as it starts getting deeper, they realize.
Yeah, we actually have an evaluation that I have them fill out at the beginning, and they score themselves in 12 areas on a scale of from 1 to 10. And then we go through the 12 weeks, and they take it at the end to see their progress. And it's funny, some people say, well, and of course it's not the only coaching I do, but some people, I say, do you want to work on my Love Yourself curriculum? And they're like, oh, I think I pretty much love myself. I say, well, let's find out. And I hand them the evaluation, and they start to score themselves, and they're like, whoa, maybe this is an issue. And when it comes to addiction, it's definitely an issue. One of the 12 lessons that we teach is take care of your body. And I was looking back on my history, and when I was healed from my addiction, I was kind of looking at the dates, and it's like, well, when did I learn to love myself? And I actually learned to love myself several years before I was actually healed from my addiction, and I think it was probably the biggest component out of everything that I did. It was learning to love myself put me in a place where I could be healed. And had I not learned to love myself along the way, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Wow. Charity, you got something you want to share on this?
I'm going to absolutely agree on that point, because I didn't love myself, and I too, I had no idea that was really a thing. And as the years would progress, you know, I would start to hear it and I'd be like, well, that's, you know, full of yourself, right? I don't know about that, you know, because it seemed like it was such a selfish thing, or, you know, that it kind of, my conditioning correlated it with pompous and arrogant and
That's what your
egotistic.
subconscious told you,
and,
wasn't it?
yeah, and it wasn't until I was truly ready to start heading in, and, you know, little did I know that, you know, things were going to just suddenly converge and I was going to plunge right into that hole. But it was the first thing that came up, is that I absolutely loathed myself. My conditioning, beliefs that I picked up, and, you know, and this is even going to be brave for me to say, you know, that I learned that I chose to believe. But I did. I hated myself. I thought I was worthless, no good, that I would never go anywhere, be anything, that my existence was in fact pointless. And to start looking at myself in the mirror and trying some of these things, that was hard. I was just like, yeah. But there is a moment that does come where you're like, I think I love you. And I'm like, oh, what was that? You know? But, you know, it's a little more of kind of an unconscious action that I do now. Some days I have to make it more conscious effort, because there's still stuff that's coming up and that I still have to stay really on top of and aware of. But every day, look in the mirror. Hey, hi you. How you doing? And to actually look, you know, ally related to that, you know, being able to stare yourself in the eyes, that's hard. But it was definitely a big part of my addiction and the belief system that I held. I hated myself. And that's actually painful to say right now. That's hard to say.
Yeah. And we find that with so many people that have come on the show and shared, you know, and I was even at a point really to where it was the same way with me, you know, where I thought I was this really great guy, you know, had a great career and making good money and, you know, had a great relationship at the time, which was my girlfriend, but now she's my wife. But then when life hit and punched me in the gut and things were changing, that's when I really started focusing on what type of person I was. Did I really love myself? You know, am I really the type of person that I want to be? And I've heard many people say, it's too late for me. It's too late for me to change. I've been doing this too long. And I'm sure you may hear this as well.
That's what the subconscious tells you.
Yeah. And the way I see it, it's never too late to change. I mean, even if you're 80, it's never too late to change. We just had a gal on the show at, I won't say her age. She said her age, but I'll be a gentleman. I won't say her age. But she's in her 50s, but she's gone back to school to learn how to be a coach and be able to help people that battle with addiction because her son went through it.
That's great.
And she's
her
like,
life experience will be so valuable.
Yeah. I mean, she says, I'm retired and here I am looking at starting my own business. She's like, what the hell am I doing? You know, but she's finding something inside her that she didn't know that she had. And that is one thing that is so cool about doing this show is we find people that come on this show and it's like they have found something in them, you know. And I shared earlier, just I'm watching the transformation this beautiful lady over here's doing, you know. I mean, I think I told her the other day, last week or something, I'm like, there's a different glow about you. And I'm watching her grow, and we've only known each other for 6-7 months, I think is what we've known, but to see this transformation, and I know watching her do this and watching my wife do this, they're I'm following them. It's helping me grow as well, because I'm seeing their transformation and hearing what they're doing to help themselves, and go, I should try that. I mean, no, I didn't have problems with alcohol or anything, but what the hell? Why not?
Well, I tell people that that I work with. I say it's not like I've arrived.
Yeah.
I did cross the bridge when I learned to love myself, but it's a lifelong pursuit, and I can always get better. And some people, they take the evaluation, they score pretty highly, but they still want to do it because they realize the more you love yourself, the better everything in your life goes. Period.
Amen. Yeah, we've said on this, and I was telling a friend of mine who I was talking to one day. She was sharing some stuff, and I said, you know what? When it comes to growing and becomes working on yourself, when you're working, there is no finish line. I think it is something that we will do until the day that God calls us home. I think we can always.
And it kind of depends on if you're ready. I say there's two kinds of people in the world. There's the ones that know that we all have issues, and they're working through them as they go. And then there's the ones where you say, well, they say, well, issues, like, what do you mean? And they're wanting to keep things the same. Their stability is in keeping things the same. They're not about change.
Yeah.
And those of us who are working through our issues, it's not because we think at some point there's not going to be any more issues. It's just we recognize that we feel so much better if we're working through our stuff as it comes up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I would think if you're one of those people that are just happy with things, I would think that bucket would just keep filling up because you're not working through those, right? You're adding more weight on your shoulders. I mean, that's how I would see it. But
that would pretty much sum up what I would think, based on my own experience, because that's what happened for me. Is it just kept. Next thing I knew, I needed another bucket, but that one filled up, and then another, and and one day I just said, I don't think this is the way anymore, and I don't know if people don't need to. I respect that.
Yeah, that's their choice.
According to Louise Hays, if you're working through your stuff, that's good, and if you're not working through your stuff, eventually, as you fill your buckets, it'll manifest physically. So there's a whole chapter in her book that talks about physical ailments and what emotional issues are usually at the base of that, and then the recommended affirmation to work on it. And she's an expert on the body-mind connection, and she's like, yeah, if you're working through your emotions as they come up, and great, and if you're just stuffing them or looking the other way, or you're in denial, they don't go away.
No,
they just they find some way to express themselves, and negative emotions are not very fun to watch express themselves.
No, and I'm a living testament to that, and I love that we're talking about that too, because I think we even alluded to it in our other recording today, that what you don't deal with here comes out here, because the way we think memory works isn't how it really works. And what your mind can't process, it puts away in your body. So what are we putting away in our body?
Well, and it sits there and it festers, right? I mean, it's just like if you get a sliver, when you first get that sliver, it's just sliver, and if you don't take care of it and get it out, pretty soon the next day it's a little sore and it's looking red, and the next day it's getting puffier and it can get infected.
Right.
And it's just a little teeny piece of wood.
And my analogy is, imagine a drop of poison and it kills off a portion of your body.
Yeah.
We'll add another drop of poison, and it's going to kill the next area. And just slowly that decay builds and builds and builds. And that's what happens when we don't work through our stuff, is eventually our cells start to malfunction because we've put that negative into our cells.
Well, it starts dissolving the insides of your body. I mean, I have a family member who, I've watched it happen all my life, and a couple people, to see where their health's at they're in their 70s. That's still young nowadays. 70s, early 70s, mid 70s. But to see all the health issues that they have, and it's because they've not released that stuff to let it out, you know. And I mean, I've shared things with them on books that I've read, and they basically looked at me and said, "Yeah, you're freaking losing it."
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
sounds
am
woo-woo,
I?
right?
Woo-woo.
Yeah, woo woo. Yeah, that's a. We're gonna have to use that one some more. Woo woo. I like the woo woo. But yeah, it's crazy, and it can lead to the addictions. And then if you're adding substance in your body like alcohol or drugs, and you've already got that poison inside you, now you're just really
You're
adding on
feeding
top
it.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you've battled an addiction, right? Where, with what you're doing now, I mean, when you were coping with recovering and taking each day at a time, which we found out doesn't matter what addiction it is, everybody's still taking those same steps to get to where they're at. Did you ever use the concepts that you're teaching people now? Or was that kind of like a stepping stone for you even before you found that book?
No, I definitely used the concepts. In fact, it's interesting. I was addicted to pornography. I say for 30 years because it started when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really look at it as an addiction until toward the end, when I realized every time I was exposed to it, I engaged, and I lost the ability to walk away. And so as I meet people and we talk about possibly working together, if they're battling that same thing, number one, it gives me a reason, because the whole time I was asking, why me? You know,
Yeah.
there's got to be some good that's going to come out of this, and that's one reason. Is now someone who is battling that same addiction, when they come and work with me, they know that I understand how they feel because I've been there and done that, and so they trust me, and it's easier to help them put some things in place to strengthen. And it's interesting. There really isn't anything I can do for someone that's more valuable than teaching them to love themselves. And as has been amply described, anyone who's involved in addiction definitely doesn't love themselves.
Yeah.
And I did pretty well. I had this I now call it false self-esteem that kind of carried me through. So I didn't get into the really deep, dark places of that addiction. And later, when I realized that my self-esteem was false, I was able to start to build an authentic self-esteem. And it's so interesting. Whatever you choose to build your self-esteem on, most of the time can be taken away. And when I was 16, if you just said, well, what are you all about? I would have said, well, I'm an athlete because I play basketball and that's what I do. Well, then later that year, I got cut from the team. It's like, oh, well, I can't be an athlete if I can't even play high school ball. So about that time, I got my driver's license and bought a car, and I started dating girls, and I thought, well, that's who I am now. And, that changes too. And just about anything you go to build your self-esteem on can be changed unless you start to talk about eternal things. One day, I was examining the belief I have that I'm a son of God, and I've been taught that since I was very young. And I thought, why are we taught that? Is that to make us feel warm and fuzzy, to make us want to choose the right? And is it symbolic or is it literal? And as I started I took all the expectations of everyone else off the table, and I said, what do I currently believe right now as an adult? And as I dug deep and decided that my belief is that it's literal, that I'm literally a son of God, I'm like, wow. If that's true, then there's a lot of ramifications. How long has that been true? Well, forever. How long will that be true? Forever. Can anyone take that away from me? No. So that was a solid place to start building some self-esteem. And so when I'm working with my clients, sometimes I ask them, I say, well, what's the most important thing about you? And I get all kinds of interesting answers, and they're good. And then if they happen to believe that they're a child of God, I say, can you think of anything about you that's more important than that? And they say no. And I say, that's a good foundation to build on.
Wow. That's really well
That's
put.
powerful.
When I was going to the addiction recovery program, I was already healed, but I was going with a client to support him, and we went to 4 or 5 meetings, and they go around the circle and they talk about their pornography addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, I'm so-and-so, and I'm a recovering addict. And then we got to this guy named Bryce, and Bryce said, I'm Bryce, and I'm a son of God. And I'm like, that's what you want to say in an addiction recovery program. That's so much more powerful than I'm a recovering addict.
Yes, it is.
It
Man,
is.
that's really good, because I've asked my wife to do that. Okay, she would get up there in a meeting, and say, "Hi, my name's Janan, and I'm an alcoholic." And as I was doing more studying and learning different things, I'm like, it's up to you. I can't tell you what to do, but I would like it if you would not get up and say, I am an alcoholic, because you just put a label on your forehead. That's saying you're an alcoholic.
You just reinforce that with an affirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she gets up now and she says, hi, I'm Janan, and I'm in recovery. But I like what you just said, that I am a son of God, or I am a sister of God, or a daughter of God is what it should be. But
Well, daughter of God is so fun because the acronym is DOG. And so I say to people, well, just be a dog. And they look at me and they're like, what? And I say, well, it's an acronym. It stands for Daughter of God.
I like
I'm so
that.
writing
she's
this
writing
down.
it down. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Get up in an A meeting, I'm a dog.
It gets everybody's
I love
attention.
dogs.
I bet it would. But that is so cool that person said that. And I've used it in one of my talks, so I'm getting to where now I'm starting to be invited to go out to recovery places and to share my story, which I love doing this, and I'm hoping to get a whole bunch more. But Todd Sylvester, I don't know if you know Todd Sylvester, he wrote a #1 bestseller called I Am Recovered. And he's from Utah here, and his story is just a great story, and he works for Wasatch Recovery now. Mm-hmm. And he has helped thousands and thousands of people. He has a podcast called The Leafcast, and great show. Has all kinds of people come on with different stories. But when he was in the studio one Saturday, and we're doing a recording, and he says this is the first time that he's told this, which I felt very honored that he shared it on our podcast. But he was invited to go out to the state prison and do a talk. And he's in a cinder block room, he says, with about 100 inmates, and he's thinking, okay, and there's guards there, with their guns and everything. It's kind of an uncomfortable thing. But he was doing his talk, and he says he doesn't even know why he brought this up. Just out of the blue, he just said, how many people in here are here because you broke the law? And he says every hand went up. How many people are here because of addiction? Some of the hands went up. And he kept asking these questions. And he even had one, how many people in here were honest today? And a lot of hands went up. He said, a lot of hands went up, and there was a few that didn't. And he goes, let me tell you something. He says, none of you are criminals today. Everybody in this room raised their hand. You're here because you were a criminal. You're not a criminal today. You're not an addict today. And he says, you know why? Because you didn't break the law today. You didn't use today. So why are you telling yourselves that you're a criminal? Yes, you're in here, but you didn't steal today. You didn't rob. You didn't kill somebody.
That's huge.
And he said that this guy got up and did a beeline for the stage. He's thinking, oh, I'm going to get attacked. This guy come up and the guards were trying to go after him. And this guy just come up, boom, just gave him a huge hug and held him for he said it felt like 5 minutes. And he says, and he's looking and guys, tears just pouring down. And the guy that hugged him had tears going down. And he goes, when he was done, everybody got up and gave him a standing ovation for that. And he said it touched him so much because he basically got those people for a short period of time to look at themselves like, I'm not a criminal.
As who they really are.
Yeah, as who they really are. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so powerful. So I was invited to go out and talk at Corner Canyon Rehab. And I took a page out of his book, because we all take stuff from other coaches and other people.
Yes.
And I'm like, hey, I'm taking this out of my friend Todd's book. And I'm like, how many of you guys in this room are addicts? Everybody raised their hand. And I said, no, you're not. I said, have any of you guys used today? Not one hand went up. I'm like, so why are you looking at yourself as an addict? And they were just kind of looking around. They were puzzled. And I thought, oh my gosh, Todd, thank you for sharing that with me, because it is so powerful. Because we label ourselves. I hear women sometimes, women that I know who to me are pretty, and they're like, I'm so fat. I said, no, the hell you're not. Or, I look so ugly in the mornings. And it's like, why do you tell yourself this? Why are you? Because if one of their friends said that to them, they'd go, oh, come on, no, you're not. Gosh, I wish my body looked like yours. But when it comes to their own self-thoughts, we are so quick at putting ourselves down and putting ourselves on a lower pedestal. And I'm sure you see that constantly.
Yep. I'm a little bit grateful because that's why I'm in business, and I'm a lot of bit sad because it's so prevalent.
Yeah. Well, and I've been in some of your classes, and me including, I've seen a lot of people crying in there.
That's how I know I'm doing a good job, is if my client cries. My client doesn't cry, it might have been a good session, but I'm not sure.
I remember this, he did this, I don't know if it's a session or routine or what you would call it. I just had the word and it just slipped. Anyways, we had a chair.
Oh, it's called the affirmation bath.
The affirmation bath, and people got around us. Okay?
Okay.
And we took turns sitting in the middle of the chair. So I'm sitting in a chair and you've got people around you. And I think there was 4 or 5 people around each person sitting in the middle. And I don't remember, but I think we started out with saying negative stuff, wasn't it? Or was it all? It was the positive stuff. So you closed your eyes, sat with your feet flat, hands open, and people started saying, you're wonderful, you're awesome. It just started saying all this positive stuff.
For 2 minutes.
For 2 minutes.
And it seems like a long time.
Oh, it seems like you're there for 5.
I'm sitting here going, that feels like a really long time.
Yeah.
And to set it up, you write down your own affirmations, what you want to hear, and you choose someone in the circle to hand that to, and then the other people in the circle just have a generic sheet that we've printed and hand out to them. And so one person's saying exactly what you want to hear, and the other people are saying wonderful things. And my original intention was to do it for 5 minutes, but 2 minutes is plenty. And after 2 minutes, how did you feel?
Oh, hell, I had tears rolling down my cheeks, both cheeks. And it was the affirmation bath, but let's just say you had a bath full of lavender and roses, and really, you came out feeling really, really special. That's how I felt. I felt really special, and my grandkids do that for me. When I'm around my grandkids, I'm supposed to help them feel special, but they make me feel special, and I saw that happen with so many people. Everybody in our group, I don't think there wasn't one person that got up out of that chair in the middle that didn't have tears rolling down their eyes.
I don't know if you were the same one as this couple, but we had a couple there, and the woman was sitting in the middle, and she handed her list of her custom-made affirmations to her husband. And after he'd spent 2 minutes reading those to her, he was crying.
Yes.
And he said, it was the same one?
It was the couple I was with.
Okay, cool. And he said, this is amazing. I didn't know this is what she wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a big breakthrough.
That was really huge because I watched that unfold right in front of me, and I know who you're talking about because I go see them every week.
Oh, that's right. I run into you there.
Yeah,
That's my chiropractor and his wife.
yeah,
Should we do a plug for Awaken Health Chiropractic?
yeah. A matter
They're
of fact,
awesome.
I'm trying to get them in here to do a commercial because they've been working with me, and they're big supporters of this. So yeah. Awaken Chiropractor. They're off of 106 South and State Street. They are great. And now that you said that, I think I just missed. I think I had an appointment with them today at 11. I keep forgetting to put it in my calendar, so I'm sure I got a text that said, "Hey, we missed you today." But anyway, great people. But I really like that because you saw a lot of people, kind of that aha moment. It was just a great exercise, and I'm glad that I had that opportunity to be a part of that. And thank you so much for inviting me to that and giving me that experience, because I think a lot of that would work in rehabs, because so many people. Yeah. So there's a rehab here in Salt Lake, and I get to go out and talk on December 8th. I get to go talk with some of their students out there, but they have a session where basically they call people out on their shit, basically. And the owner, he sits in there with them, and he gets called out. Because he's like, if I'm allowing my students to get called out, I should be called out just like I call them out, because I'll call them out on their bull crap. And it's almost kind of irritating to watch, but also it's really cool to watch, because you get to see people all of a sudden, those gears start turning. And I think it's a little different, but with the affirmation bath, I think it's kind of fits in that same category, because while you're sitting dwelling in your own cesspool inside going, I'm worthless, and I'm a piece of shit, and because I've been told I am, and this person said this about me, to start hearing people talking about how incredible you are and how wonderful you are and what they see in you or whatever. I mean, how can you not be uplifted after something like that?
And it's hard to hear at first because you don't believe it. Yeah.
It is. It takes a minute before you start to let it in, and it's so fun to watch people let it in. And we've had one student that couldn't handle it. She just started crying in a negative way, and she stood up and removed herself from the situation. And I can't remember if we went and tried it with her again, but I'm grateful for those that can tolerate it. You tolerate it for like the first minute, and then the second minute is just wonderful. The subconscious is so clever. It just says, "Oh, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true," and eventually it settles down.
It's like, that's not what you've been telling me all this time. So
Right. Right.
No.
We had somebody on our show. I'm going to share this before we head to a commercial break, but we had somebody share on our show once that she was laying on the floor. I think it was Tamar from Canada. She's laying on the floor, taking a bunch of pills, was high and drunk, and she's laying and she's looking at her dog. Dog's laying there, and she just realized enough. And I'm hoping it is her, but if not, I apologize. But she just decided to just basically one day say, you know what? Oh, no, it wasn't Tamara. It was Siobhan out of the UK. She said one day she just decided to put all the bullshit that she was telling herself in a bag and just toss it out the door. And she says the day that she did that, it was like a whole different light came into her life. And I've gone to other classes where people have said, write it down. Write everything down. All your beliefs, your negative, whatever, how you believe about yourself, write it on a piece of paper. And then wad it up and toss it. Or take it outside and light the damn thing on fire. Get rid of it.
I've burned many a thing.
I mean, I was at a class last year where they had us write stuff down, and the guy who was teaching the class had him get up there, just picked her, and she started crying, and you could see this girl was really hurting with a lot of things that she held inside. And he's like, what do you want to do with it? Get rid of it. And man, she was like ripping it up through it, and she was jumping up and down on the stage like, enough, you know. And after he got her settled down, he's like, how do you feel? And all of a sudden you could just see like this beam of light in her eyes just start going, oh my gosh, you know. And it's just something that small, that simple.
He gave her permission to do that.
Yes, permission.
And there's so many things it would be good for us to give ourselves permission to do. So I joke with my clients, we run up against something like that, and I go, I give you permission. And I'm joking because the person they need permission from is themselves.
Yeah. Well put. Well, guys, we're gonna stop right now for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net, or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the second half of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. As we do all the time, we want to say thank you to all our listeners out there. Thank you for supporting us and believing in what we are doing. This podcast has grown a heck of a lot quicker than what we ever thought it was going to grow, and it's because of people like yourselves believing in what we're doing, on getting the message out there, and just being raw and vulnerable is what we're getting a lot of messages. So thank you guys for your support. We also want to say thank you to many sponsors. I want to say thank you to Rick Heaton, attorney at law. He is personal injury. His commercial will be up soon, so you'll be able to find his information. Hoping nothing happens or none of our listeners get into an accident or anything, but if they do, reach out to Rick. I can talk very highly of this guy because I know him extremely well. He's married to my daughter, and he's an incredible man. He's an incredible husband, a wonderful father, and this guy will go to bat for you, and he'll do whatever he can to help you out. We also want to say thank you to our friends out in West Jordan at Taffy Town. Thank you for your support and your sponsorship, your love, and believing what we're doing. My friends Letitia and Kevin out at Computer Hospital. Those guys are awesome. They're at 8721 South State Street. Guys, if you want a new computer or if you got issues with your old computer, I'd highly recommend those guys. They'll give you an honest assessment, and they're not there to take your money. They're there to keep you as a customer and take good care of you. Also want to say thank you to Cameron and Austin Smith with Refiner Productions. If you guys got a wedding or a birthday or any kind of event or a talk or whatever it may be, or a coaching session, or man, these guys, they do great work. They are really good at what they do, and they've gotten a little bit of business even after doing some of my stuff. Some people have reached out and said, hey, who were those guys that did that for you? So,
Awesome.
Yeah, you guys are great. We also want to say thank you to High Point Coffee out in West Jordan, 7800 South in Redwood Road. Our good friends, Gregory and Tosh from Lift Up Concrete out of Kaysville. Those guys are great. So if you got settled or sunken concrete, please reach out to them. Serve Pro, Brad at Serve Pro, West Jordan. But we want to say thank you from Ogden all the way down to St. George. And a huge thank you, too, to USARA, Utah Support Advocates of Recovery Awareness. Love you guys. You guys do great out there. I know my wife really enjoys working with you guys. And again, just a huge thank you for inviting Brad and Charity and JD and myself out to Recovery Day back in September. We had a great time, and we actually have had some people on the show that we have met,
Yes.
that we met out there.
It's
So
awesome.
very grateful for you guys. And we cannot leave Brad out. We got to say thank you to Brad from Resilience Talk Network. Thank you, Brad, for having us here in your studio, for opening up your arms and believing in what we are doing. And thank you to Charity and JD and Lori, who's been all a part of this. You know, I mean, I think these guys can tell you I could spend 10 minutes saying thank yous, but I hope you guys know how grateful and blessed we all are to have you, and I know I am, so thank you.
Oh,
And
thank you.
absolutely. And to all our wonderful guests, we've had incredible guests on this show. I mean, from all over the world. I mean, it's amazing. I'm just,
cool.
yeah, it is cool.
It's crazy cool.
So before we had a break, Curtis, you were talking about giving yourself permission. And I love that you went there, because we were talking during the break. You know, life has a way of throwing curveballs at us. I got to share a quick story with that. So one day, one of my buddies called me up, and he's like, how's life treating you? And I'm like, I'm swinging at curveballs. And he's like, oh, you're playing baseball right now? No, I'm swinging at curveballs. And he goes, so you're playing baseball? I'm like, no, I'm just using that kind of, you know, life is throwing me curveballs. I'm swinging and I ain't hitting anything yet. And he finally got it. But it has a way of hitting us in the gut, throwing curveballs at us. We can get upset. We can hurt. We can cry. I mean, there's days that I wake up and really I just feel like the whole world's imploding on me. And it's okay to feel those emotions, right? The secret is not to allow it to grab a hold of you like quicksand and drag you down. Feel those emotions. Be grateful for those emotions. Charity brought that up, and I'm really glad she did. Be grateful. Embrace them. Do what you need to do, and then get them out. Right?
I've got a tool.
Great.
And the second part of it is embrace. So I call it surrender, embrace, and transform. And surrender is the opposite of resistance. And what we're normally doing is resisting these emotions, right?
Yeah.
And so I use the metaphor of pretend you're in a room and your limiting belief or your negative emotion is on the other side of the door, and you've got it locked, and you might even be pressing against the door to keep that monster outside. That's resistance, and what we resist persists.
Mm-hmm.
And so it might go away for a while, but it always comes back, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
might take a nap.
yeah.
I might take a nap. 5 minutes.
And so surrender is the opposite of resistance. You basically unlock the door and you open the door and you stare your monster in the face. Embrace is one step further. You sit down on the floor, and if now your negative emotion is a black sticky goo, you sit down on the floor and you let the black sticky goo just run all over you. And I take my clients through this exercise, and I say, okay, are you there? And they're like, yep, I'm there. And they're very familiar with how that feels,
Yeah.
And then I ask them a question. We're usually working on a limiting belief. I ask them a question. I say, well, is it true? And they say, no, it's not true. And I say, well, then what's the truth? And that's when they come up with an affirmation, a powerful affirmation to battle that particular limiting belief. This surrender, embrace, and transform, if it's a little tiny negative emotion or a little tiny limiting belief, once you've surrendered and embraced, you just transform. It just kind of goes away, and you're like, oh, that's not true. That's not really a big deal. If it's a little bit bigger, then after you've surrendered and embraced, then you gain some clarity about the steps you want to take in order to transform, which the one I teach during that lesson is coming up with a powerful affirmation and what to do with that affirmation to use it as a tool to transform.
Wow.
And something else that we had mentioned, during the break is, it came up for me that there are no bad emotions. We've been conditioned to believe, well, anger is bad, or to cry or to be sad is bad, and it's not. It's your teacher. It's the way. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. Where we get kind of mixed up is we attach a negative energy to said emotion, and then we latch on to that, and that's where all that meh comes from. It's the best way I can do it is meh, because it's yucky, and that is the part that we want to move through so that we can release that negative attachment. And so these are great tools. You're talking about goo. I literally imagine myself hugging my emotions, and I hug it until it hugs me back. And when that moment occurs, then I'm like, okay, thank you, and I bless it, and we can move forward.
Beautiful. Yeah, Louise Hays says it's okay to feel the way you feel. And a lot of times that's what we beat ourselves up about. It's like, oh, well, I shouldn't be feeling this way.
Yeah.
And she talks a lot about the word should, too.
Oh, that's
Good
it.
word,
That's
shoulda.
another one. I'm writing down what you just said. It's okay to feel what you feel. And Curtis, thank you for bringing up that word should. Because I was in a class last year too, and the guy that was teaching it said, quit shoulding on people. And
Especially on yourself.
especially on yourself, yeah. Because should is also one of those words that's very negative. And I've really worked hard at paying more attention to the words that we've talked about, like the try and the hate and the should. And there's been a few times it's come out where I just change it, But yeah, because should is definitely, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's just another negative emotion.
Well, Louise Hay says when you use the word should, you're making someone wrong. You're either making yourself wrong or someone else wrong. And the simple exercise is just always replace it with the word could.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the shift in energy you get when you take out should and you put in could. It's like, wow, I could. Now it's a choice. And it's so much more free. Whereas should is a really heavy weight to carry.
Yeah, and I used that word a lot during my wife's recovery in all the years. It took me a long time to get that figured out. because I would say you should stop drinking, or you should do this, or you shouldn't do that.
Says who?
Yeah, says who? And if you want to put the IT after the SH, basically that's all I was doing to her. I mean, really, I was. So it's funny how, and again, that book, Word I Am Word, it's kind of a thick book, but I tell you what, it really gets you thinking about your vocabulary, how you were actually sending out a lot of negative energy throughout the day, or how would I say it, even it's about yourself, by using these certain words. And when you start changing them, you will be surprised. I mean, some of you people out there listening may think that we're a bunch of nutcases thinking, but I'm telling you, as you start doing it and you start paying attention to it, it really does change. Because you said you've seen people where the energy just, once they get to that point, it just starts flowing out of them. I mean, that's how quick it happens. So people who are even battling the addiction, you got something to say?
Yeah,
Charity,
like even as you state, people could be thinking we're a bunch of nutcases, and I'm like, we might be.
Yeah, we might.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because we're learning, and every moment gains another moment and another moment, and it really is part of the healing. I catch myself shooting on myself, and it's a hard one to break. It's a hard one to break, guys. But it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Well, we've been saying should all our life since we were kids.
Yeah.
Because we've heard it from our parents or friends or family,
Lots of people are perfectly happy sharing with us what we should do.
Yes, exactly right. And that's happening a ton right now. I mean, with the way the world is, we were saying that on an earlier episode this morning.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So many people are trying to get their belief to get somebody else to believe. And we're all our own person, and we all look at things differently. And it's not my place to get you guys to believe what we're saying here. You either,
Well, and if I wanted to influence you, would you feel better if I said, well, you could consider this?
Yes, absolutely.
That's much more influential, isn't it?
Yeah, and you could consider it, But yeah, when someone says you should, you're throwing up. I mean, for me, I'm throwing up the wall.
I just felt it in my chest. Like every time we say that word, my chest is like, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna take that with me today because I've never paid attention to that feeling.
Yeah.
In this way, yeah.
Yeah. Put that wall up, when someone's doing that. So, and again, I was so guilty of it with my wife. I said that to her so many flipping times. Or even the try word. You should try this. Try that. Well, how the hell do I know? I'm not in her shoes. I don't know what I'm talking about, which I wasn't. I really didn't. So, Curtis, what else can you share with us? I mean, you've used what you've learned to help you through what you've gone through with addiction and life, and now you're out there, you're helping so many people. I mean, you've been doing this now, gosh, when you started up the Thought Coach, I remember when you reached out to me for the first time and said, hey, I've changed gears. This is what I'm doing, and I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But and I'm sure now that this is really rocking for you, and the self-satisfaction of seeing what you're doing to help people, I mean, that's got to be so rewarding.
It's extremely rewarding to see people take the tools that I teach and run with them.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people you get out of this exactly what you put into it, and when I see somebody put a lot into it and get a lot out of it, it's so exciting.
And one thing that I've really thought about, because I've taken some of your classes and I've taken other classes, it's really not that hard. It's common sense. But why is it that we don't know it? Why does it? And I'm grateful that we have somebody like yourself and some of our other guests like Vanessa and
Yes.
Tamar and Sarah and and Debbie. I mean, to have these people here for us to help us realize, and they went that direction like you because maybe something tragic happened in their life or they wanted to find another way. now I forgot where I was just.
Well, you were
just,
saying you're saying it's common sense. Why don't we
Yeah.
know it?
Yeah.
We know these things. I don't teach people very many things. I remind them of a lot of things that they already know.
Mm-hmm.
But I help them bring it down to emotional and
Thank you.
heart
I
level.
was going to say, we do already know.
We don't
right here.
Yeah.
It's
When you know it here and you start to live it, and you start to reap the benefits, that's really what it is. It's reminding people of what they know to do, what they know works, and it rings true, and then hold them accountable to actually take steps to improve instead of just, oh yeah, well thanks, that's today's lesson. I say,
Yeah.
okay, and here's your assignment, and next week I'm going to ask if you did it, and if you say yes, we'll celebrate together, and if you say no, I'll say what held you back, and we'll tweak it so you can get it done.
Yeah. It reminds me of physical therapy. It does. I mean, because I've had so many shoulder surgeries, and I remember when I had my first one umpteen years ago. They always give you homework. Physical therapist
Yeah.
always gives you homework for you to go and do. And you have to do these exercises. And me, I was so damn and determined that I was going to be playing ball again in 6 months because I was like a softball nut. I loved playing ball. And my shoulders have finally taken me out of the game because I should have listened to the doctors and taken more time off. But but that's what it reminded me of. So I remember I was done 3 weeks before I was supposed to be done with physical therapy. And it's because I did what they told me. Go home, do this exercise. And some of it was just like crawling a spider up the wall or something, or using the bands and doing certain exercises, or squeezing a pillow. And I did it as much as I could. Even if I was sitting watching TV, I was squeezing a pillow between my side and my arm. And he's like, Al, we've had people here that's been here a month before you and you're already done. And they're still doing it. When somebody comes to a class like yours and you're wanting to help them make their lives better, if they're not going to put forth that effort, right, to do it, because I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think he was part of the circuit or the secret, but I don't remember. But he was talking about, you can buy one of these real estate courses, and it'll tell you how to buy homes and do this, or flip them or whatever. And people spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on it. Well, the majority of them, probably 98% or enough 99%, say, the course was bullshit, didn't work.
I did it.
Did you?
I'm guilty.
But, and I'm just as guilty as well because I've done it as well. And it's because I really didn't put forth that effort. The ones who did, they're doing awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're really wanting to change your life or your outlook or change your vibration inside here, if you take these courses, use it. I mean, even if you used, I would say, a quarter of it, your life's going to change. Because I started seeing my life change just little by little, and that's what got me to start believing in it more and more, And hearing some of our guests that have come on, I mean, so many of them looked in the mirror and like, time to change, man. Life's shit. Life sucks.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. And they just made that switch. And as they started loving themselves and believing in
It
themselves.
starts with a penny.
Starts with
That's
a penny.
what just came up for me. So here we are.
Wow. And
It starts with a penny. 1 penny at a time. Put 1 penny in the jar. Add another penny in that jar. Add another penny. Start with a penny.
Yeah. Just kind of like Nick did with a marble.
Before you know it, you've got $1. Before you know it, you've got $2. Start with a penny.
Good point. I like that.
That reminds me of something I want to comment on earlier. You were talking about when we get so down, and you were talking about dealing with an addiction. We're taking it one day at a time, and sometimes you're so low, and you were mentioning that there's some simple, easy things we can do. I wanted to jump in and say, yeah. In fact, when I find myself in that spot, one of my favorite tools is making a list because what you focus on grows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just start making a list. I write down 5 positive things that have happened for me today. I do that every day in my journal. I do 5 positive things or 3 miracles every day, because what you focus on grows. And sometimes I don't write anything else, but I always put the 5 positive things or the 3 miracles. One time I was sitting in a workshop, and I was one of the facilitators of the workshop. I'd heard it 80 times. And actually, when I'm doodling or writing something, I can actually take it in better.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I'm just going to make a list of the positive things. And over a period of about a half an hour, I had 86 positive things. How do you think I
Wow.
felt after writing down 86 positive things in my life?
Oh, incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I just do it all the time, and I assign my clients to do it all the time. One of the assignments is I want you to make a list of 20 of your accomplishments, 20 or more, and bring it next week, and we'll go over it. And then I have them share the highlights with me, and I say, "What did it do for you?" And they're like, "Wow, I feel like I'm actually doing something with my life."
Wow, well put.
That is
Because
good stuff.
yeah, because some of us
Good
do feel
stuff.
like we've not done anything.
Yes.
And what
Yeah.
you focus on grows, and you can focus better and get it into your subconscious better if you make a written list. So often I'm assigning my clients to make a written list of this, make a written list of that.
And that's a really good point. So most everybody knows who Steve Harvey is. You know, he does like the Family
Yes.
Feud now, and he's done the Miss Americas or whatever. But he had this thing where basically he wrote a list of 300 things that he wanted in his life. List of 300. So a couple lady friends of mine called me, and they're like, "Hey, we were talking about doing this Steve Harvey thing where we're going to do this list of 300, and we're going to do this little competition. And we thought of you, Al. Would you like to do it with us?" And I'm like, "Well, tell me, what do I got to do?" And they're like, "Well, you got to come up with 300 things." And I'm like, "Okay, sounds pretty easy." Well, Steve Harvey says that, you know, when he started, he says right around 75, you're done. You're like, what am I going to do? Well, I thought I was kicking ass. I got to about 83, and then the door shut in my face. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm checking with the girls. I'm like, "Hey, where are you guys at?" And they're like, one said, "Oh, I haven't even started yet." And the other one's like, "I've got like 20 something." And they're like, "How many do you have?" And I'm like, 83. And they're like, "Wow, well, okay, we're going to get busy." So I was stuck with 83 for I don't know how long. And I kept that book close to me. So, and I was alone at the time because my wife was either in jail or in rehab, I don't know what. But I started really opening up my mind, and something came on TV. And it was like on a show or something where maybe they were at a lake. And I was like, "Oh, there's one." I would write it down. And then I'd be listening to a song and a certain lyric, and there's another one. And I finally got to where, I don't know, probably within a week, I had gotten up to, I think, 200 and something.
Wow.
And I'm going, oh my gosh. I mean, because I started opening my mind. I got rid of those blinders and started really opening my mind to things. Well, it took me a month and 2 weeks, and I had my 300. The girls, I think got to 100. They were like, "Damn you, Al." And I'm like, "Well, gosh, you guys invited me, you know." And I'm like, "I'm going to do it." But then what you were supposed to do is after you had the 300, you read them every day. It takes like 15 frickin' minutes to read 300 things that you wrote down. Well, Steve Harvey says, read it every day because it's putting it out there. It's putting it out there. And I did for a long period of time, and I'm guilty I haven't for a while. But he goes, you'll start noticing things were crossing off. Well, he's 100% right. there were things in there. So like I have a storage unit and I have a freezer and a couple fridge, and I put that down. I would like to sell my freezer. I'd like to sell this fridge, you know. Gosh, what else? Oh, I said I'd like to go skydiving. I'd like to do this. Well, I've sold the freezer, sold the fridge. I got one left. My daughters paid for me to go skydiving this past summer for Father's Day and my birthday. And I wanted a truck. I have a truck. And it's like, holy shit. This stuff, it works. And if you didn't do the exercise and you didn't follow through with it, then how would you ever know that it worked? You would just basically say, again, you're a nutcase. This is up in the air. But it works. Telling yourself positive affirmations every day. It works, people. Whether you're battling addiction or you got things going on at home, try it. You will start seeing your life change. And it may be just a shuffle at the start or a penny in a jar, but it will start working. So, I mean, is this what you guys are seeing, or I'm just over here just rambling because I get a kick out of
I'm
this
just
stuff.
loving this.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We're over here watching Al all lit up and passionate, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Whenever I start a session with a client, my first question is, what's going great for you? And sometimes they go, oh man, I knew you were going to ask that. I should have prepared. And I'm like, you don't need to prepare. It's better when you identify it on the spot. What is going great in your life?
Yeah.
And often they come in with some big issue they don't work on with me, and they don't want to stop and do that. But it's pretty powerful. I say, since you know that what you focus on grows, I ask you what's going great for you so you can focus on those things. And it shifts the energy so that they start realizing, oh, there are a few pretty great things going in my life. And from that position, it's a lot easier to work on an issue than when you just come in and launch right into the issue.
Yeah.
And it's training them to notice what's going great for you. One of my favorite assignments is identify 3 miracles per day. And when I first started doing that, it was kind of hard. It's like, well, what qualifies as a miracle? You know, this one, I had to lower the threshold quite a bit in order to get 3 a day. And then eventually when you start getting in that habit of noticing miracles, it's really easy to get right 3 a day. A couple days I've done it. I had to write 6 because I had 6 legitimate miracles in the same day. And it's like, did more miracles start happening to me, or were they just happening and I wasn't noticing?
Yeah.
And that's true.
That exercise is really powerful. Number 1, it teaches me that I live a miraculous life. And number 2, when I get in that situation where I think, oh my goodness, it's going to take a miracle to get me out of this, I can believe I'll get one because I get 3 a day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like your own genie, right?
That's really neat.
Curtis carries around a miniature lamp in his back pocket. Rubs it.
He's got Aladdin.
I actually do have a magic wand. In
Oh, you got your
office.
magic wand?
I use it as, I say, if I had a magic wand and I pick it up and wave it, and I could make it, if I could make anything you want to come true, what would you want it to be? That's how I help people develop an affirmation. I'm like, well, okay, you've told me what the situation is. What would you like it to be? If I could wave my magic wand and make it that, what would it be?
Yeah.
And then they know what their affirmation is.
That's cool.
That's interesting. That makes me want to expand a little bit. I have a practice where, and I've been working on reincorporating it. I had paused it for a little while there, and it's kind of interesting the difference between when I was doing it and when I wasn't. But the practice is at the end of every day to ask myself, where could I have done better? And then to answer that and to allow myself that honesty. And then my final question is, what did I do great? So that I end it on a positive note. And
that probably helps you sleep better.
It does. As a matter of fact, that was how I cured my sleep issues. Repetitively putting that positive and a good spin on the day did something for my mind, and I started to sleep again. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's just another good tool.
Yeah.
You know, that we can use to make our lives just a little bit better. And there's so many tools out there.
Oh, there's so much good stuff out there. Find what works for you.
Yeah. And what I've seen in the past 12 years since I've been working on myself is you're seeing more and more people actually come to coaches and things because they're realizing something's got to change. And especially now with the way stuff's happening out there, because if there's more of us that can get out there and start thinking more of this positive stuff, man, there's been studies done from people in the US to all the way to the other side of the world where they've done televised things and watching the brain waves work, and that goes all the way. It goes everywhere. It sends out. It's going out there. So it's scientific proof.
Einstein touched on it.
Einstein did, yeah.
Many psychologists have pointed this out over time. It's powerful stuff.
It really is. Well, guys, we're going to stop for a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street. Or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffytown is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffytown stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffytown and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account. And we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffytown can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com, that's taffytown.com, to find out more about the products and services that Taffytown offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're in the last half of the show here. Again, Curtis, thank you for your time. This has been some really good stuff. Charity even mentioned that I'm over here glowing because, I really enjoy talking about this stuff. I really do. And there's still a lot I don't know. It's just things that I've read in certain classes that I've been to. And, of course, we don't... is that an alarm or something? Oh, that was weird. That was like...
I think it's
dinner time.
The tea kettle.
The tea kettle, yeah. But yeah, there's still a lot of stuff that I forgot from classes, but there's a lot of things that I have taken, and I think this is just really good stuff, and people can learn from it. So before we wrap this up, again, there's a few more people we want to say thank you to. We want to say thank you to my friend Troy Hoddle with I Am Ninja Power Real Estate. Troy's just a great guy. You go in his office and it's all like Captain America and Batman and Wonder Woman, and he's really into that stuff, but just a great guy. TJ McLeland with Fitness Realty, thank you. And Tatiana Rose with Advanced Business Books, not bookings, CPA, and she can do your books. Great lady. So guys, thank you, and again, thank you to all our listeners. Thank you, Brad Neufeld, for having us, all our co-hosts, guest co-hosts, and all our phenomenal guest speakers that we've had come on. So we've touched base on some really cool stuff today. I've really enjoyed this show. Of course, I enjoy every show, but yeah. What is something that you could share with our audience that, let's say somebody's just struggling out there with some things right now? What is something that you can share that would help kind of get them started on that right path?
I'll give you the first step.
Okay.
So the curriculum that I use to teach people to love themselves is based on the 12 Ways to Love Yourself by Louise Hays. And we just focus on one concept per week for 12 weeks and basically get them started on the path to love yourself. Obviously, after 12 weeks, you don't have 12 habits in place. Hopefully you do have the first habit in place, because I have you work on that one the whole 12 weeks, and then the others you have a week's practice on that habit, because eventually you want to have all these 12 habits in place, and you're cruising down the road toward greater self-love. So concept number one, the one I have my clients practice for 12 weeks straight, is a great place to start, because if it's a large part of learning to love yourself, which I found also it raises your confidence. If I'm talking to a woman about my training, I say love yourself. If I'm talking to a man, I call it confidence coaching. I'm like, do you want to get more confidence? Do I have more influence with people? Do you want to, doesn't confidence, isn't that attractive? Help you attract your tribe? And so I'll teach you concept number one. In order to do that, I need to introduce the Army and the General. So I believe that our subconscious, including our habits, is responsible for about 90% of our results. And our conscious is responsible for about 10. Some experts take it as high as 95 and 5. I like 90 and 10. Let's imagine the subconscious is this vast army of men capable of doing great things. Unfortunately, by definition, we don't have direct control over our subconscious. And often it's working against us. So the person that controls the army is the general. And the general lives in my head, and he hears every thought that I think and every word that I say. For example, if I am cleaning out the dishwasher in the morning and I drop a glass plate on the tile floor and it shatters into 100 pieces, I might say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." And the general picks up his megaphone and he says, "Curtis is an idiot." And the army goes to work making whatever the general says true. And for the rest of the day, I do idiotic things. You ever had a day like that?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So the tool is to start noticing your negative self-talk. And that's step number 1. Start noticing the negative things you're thinking or saying about yourself. Step number 2 is be kind and patient and gentle with yourself as you change. Because otherwise, once you notice how big it is, you might just throw in the towel and give up, and then nothing changes. So be patient. And step number 3 is when you hear yourself say something negative or think something negative about yourself, stop, back up, and record over the top of it with something positive. So I have you identify 3 things that you like about yourself, not affirmations, things that are just facts. These are 3 things I like about myself to use when you need them. And then when you catch yourself saying something negative, it's like you're using a tape recorder. You've got this tape recorder that's recording all your thoughts and all your words throughout the day. And the goal is, so when you catch yourself saying something negative, you press stop, you press rewind, and then you press play and record to move forward again, and you just record over the top of it with a positive thing like, "I like my hair." I have one client that he says that every time. He says, "Oh, I have great hair." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's true. He has great hair." Anyway, so the goal is that by the end of the day, the whole tape is positive because I gave you permission to stop, back up, and record over the top of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen right away. Be kind and patient and gentle with yourself as you start to practice this. But if you practice this over time, it's super simple and easy. And this is where I say, "Do you think it'll work?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know." And I say, "Are you willing to try it?" "Yeah." "Okay, if you're consistent at it, eventually, as you practice, eventually the army starts to catch on. And when the general yells out something negative, they're like, "Oh, he's probably just going to replace that order in a few minutes with something positive." So we'll just wait for the positive thing. And if you keep practicing, eventually the general goes, "Oh, well, Curtis just called himself an idiot. But in a minute, he's going to say, 'Oh, on second thought, I'm a genius.'" And so I'm going to wait. I hate changing my commands. I'm going to wait and yell out the positive thing to the army. And if you keep practicing it, eventually you stop thinking and saying the negative things.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes at least 12 weeks.
It does. It does, because that's what I've worked on and I'm still working on. Because when I started paying attention to my own thoughts, I'm like, damn, it's like 80% of my thoughts is nothing but bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, how is that serving me? And I still find myself doing that because our subconscious mind has a way of tricking us, as Charity said earlier. But when you're conditioning, like you're saying, and be patient with yourself, you will start realizing it. You know, I've even said it myself, and I've heard my wife say it and other people say it, you know, where they'll do something that's like, "Man, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that?" Well, why did you just label yourself stupid? You know, and it's that simple. Even though you're not meaning to,
When you start
simple.
noticing that, it's amazing how prevalent it is. And so I say it to people all the time. I got a new contact because the gal that was cutting my hair on Friday or Saturday, she was saying negative things about herself, like right and left. And I said, you know, you probably ought to change your language and start treating yourself better.
yeah,
And she's like, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a life coach." And she goes, "How much do you charge? I think I want to hire you." And I said, "Well, my first session is free. So why don't we try that out and go from there?" And so she's coming over on Friday, and we're going to have a session. I'm going to teach her how to talk nicely about herself. Often I joke by saying, when I hear somebody criticizing themselves, I'm like, you can't talk about my friend that way. And they're confused for a minute, and then they go, oh, yeah, she's talking about me.
Yeah.
You know what I do?
I want to know.
It's awesome, and I love watching people's reactions when I do it, because there's this initial confused look. So when I catch myself doing something, that I used to be like, oh gosh, Charity, that was so stupid. Now I'm like, well, I just did that because I'm awesome. And I'm telling you guys, it sounds crazy. Maybe it is. But it works for me.
Yeah.
Because the messages that are starting to build now, like you said, over time, she's going to say she's awesome in a minute.
Yep.
And, because now I can just laugh at it. I'm like, well, I did that because I'm really cool.
And if you say it without sarcasm, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people need an interrupter. You catch yourself, oh, I'm such an idiot. And then you go, oh, cancel. Or delete.
That's what someone told me once.
And
Cancel,
then you-
cancel,
and-
zero.
and-
Cancel,
and-
cancel, zero.
And then you back up and you say, actually, I'm a genius. And then the general picks up his megaphone. He goes, cancel that last order. Curtis is a genius. And the Army goes about doing genius things for the rest of the day. And that's the kind of day we want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a gentleman that lives here in Utah, Steve Haddison. And he worked with an NFL football player. And how he got this guy to change. And I don't know if you've seen him on a Tribe of Giants. He's active in with the Tribe of Giants with Nick and Ryan and that. But telling yourself how amazing you are every single day. I mean, this guy was a lineman, and he finally got to where he told himself he is the best damn lineman in the NFL. And the guy ended up
Such a great story.
turning into that, and I write that. I have a journal that one of my habits that I've changed many years ago, and I've got stacks of books now, but I get in the journal and I always give my thanks, to my Father and to Jesus and my spirit and my angels and the universe. And I added universe in because of what Holly said last week. So I put the universe in there now. But I write down, things that I tell myself that I'm successful at. And when I write it down, I am believing it, and it's like I am successful because that's how I'm seeing myself, and I'm new at this. We've only been doing this since March, but I tell myself I am damn good at what I'm doing. Maybe some of you don't think so, but I'm telling myself I am, and I'm going to continue to tell myself I am.
You are.
Because that's where I want my life.
That's how you choose to show up today.
That's how I choose to show up today. Yeah. And I always say a prayer before shows. It's like whatever energy or spirit or whatever we need today to make this show a phenomenal show, please make it happen. And it's happened every single flipping time, So
If you ever have me as a guest again, I want to participate in that prayer.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, most of mine are done before I come to the studio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have my own process as I drive in.
Yeah. But we did one with it was Sarah Leslie, right? You were here with us, wasn't it? With Sarah? Where she asked permission. She goes, "May I say a prayer before we start this?"
I think so.
And so she said this prayer before, and as we say, our guests, it's their show, it's not our show. So if that's what she wanted to do, it's like we're going to do it. Absolutely, yeah. If you want to say a prayer, let's say it. And it was a great show. We had an incident last week with Lori, where she talked about her brother, the passing of her brother, and his addiction and things like that. And I tell you what, there was some crazy stuff going on. Our screen froze, her lights at home, and she's in Canada. Were flickering, and there was something going on in this.
We were feeling it.
Yeah, there was something going on in this studio too, where I mean, after the show, Charity was taking pictures and some things, but it's like, did you guys feel this? I mean, everybody in this room could feel what the heck, and it was happening in Ontario, Canada.
Somebody didn't want that message to go out.
Well, or somebody was there with us. It was something else. I mean, Lori even said after the show.
It was a very peaceful.
Oh, it was the other energy.
Yeah. It was very peaceful. It was
Awesome.
it was very
There was
peaceful.
a lot of love and a lot of peace and acknowledgement is what comes up.
Yeah, because she says she's done podcasts before, but I don't know. I'm just we got in some deep stuff, and it was something, a lot of energy.
And I've
but
been here on many a session now to say that technical things have not been the norm. So it was powerful stuff. It was a powerful day, and you know, listen, they all are. Every time I'm here, I'm absolutely in awe.
Yeah. And it's thanks to people like yourself, you know, who come on the show and share and help our audience learn. Guys, gosh, we've been going for a while. We probably got to, because I could talk about all this stuff for a long time. I get
for
going
hours.
in it. Yeah, I really enjoy talking about it. Curtis, again, thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor.
If somebody is interested in bringing you on as a coach, how do they find you? How can somebody contact you?
Well, I am on Facebook as the Thought Coach. I do I run my whole business from my phone.
Okay.
And so you can text me or call me or email me. My number is 801-860-5738, or you can contact Al. He's got my number.
Yeah, contact me. Definitely have it. And for you guys that don't have my email, it's mralrichards@gmail.com. So yeah, reach out to us. And you said earlier, your first session is free.
My first session is free. I don't expect anybody to spend any money till they find out if we're a good fit.
Right,
And
makes sense.
that's how I grow my business. I just do free session after free session after free session.
Yeah.
And at the end of the session, I will ask you, do you want to work with me? So don't be surprised.
Yeah. Awesome. Charity, is there one last thing you wanna share?
Yeah, I'm curious. What would you see is the one thing that brings you the most peace?
Ooh, deep question.
That is deep.
The thing that brings me the most peace is I have a morning ritual that I call the Power Hour, and consistency in doing that day after day brings me peace. And I track it so I know how many days I've got going in a row. Right now I'm on day 80 in a row. And when you get a string going, it's so you don't want to break it. And so it helps you be more consistent. And sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's a half an hour, sometimes it's 15 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes. That's how I keep my streak going. It's like, well, because about a month ago I was thinking, you know, it's one thing to say I do this almost every day, but it's so much more powerful to say I do this every day. And so I decided I'm just going to do it every day. And if it's only 10 minutes, at least I did it that day. And so consistency would be my one-word answer, and that's what I find brings me the most peace is consistency in my morning ritual.
I love that answer.
Yeah, I do too.
I can't explain why I was compelled to ask, but thank you. That's a great answer.
I like that you have the courage to ask the questions that you're inspired with.
Thank you.
It's filling what's inside, right?
Yep, I
Let it
acted
out.
on it.
Yeah. Hey guys, again, thank you for joining us for another great episode of The Other Side of Addiction. If you guys know somebody that is gambling with death due to an addiction, or somebody whose life has been turned upside down due to a friend or a loved one that's battled addiction, please send them our way. I mean, send them to our Facebook. We've got The Other Side of Addiction at Mr. Al Richards, or my own personal Al Richards. I'm also on Instagram. If you guys know somebody that is gambling with death due to an addiction, or somebody whose life has been turned upside down due to a friend or a loved one that's battled addiction, please send them our way. I mean, send them to our Facebook. We've got The Other Side of Addiction at Mr. Al Richards, or my own personal Al Richards. I'm also on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Just go into YouTube and hit the little magnifying glass up there and punch in The Other Side of Addiction, and we will pull up. And our subscriber list is building, thanks to you guys. So please subscribe. Please get the word out. We would be grateful. And wish you guys a wonderful week. And we're going to end you with this, as we do with every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.